If blockchain can be used to solve the double spending problem and keep an immutable ledger, why can't it be used to validate identity? Well, guess what? It can. And if Vinny Lingham has his way, his project is going to lead the way in the global digital identity revolution. Civic has an app that stores your digital identity and makes it as simple as scanning a QR code to prove that you are who you are. And today we speak to Vinny about Civic, Bitcoin, blockchain, and the future of crypto. In spite of Travis wanting to be me when he grows up, I have proof that I am me and he is not. But then again, there's only one Travis Wright as well. So join us both as we validate you on episode number 251 of the Bad Crypto Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
I am he as you are me, and we are all together, Mr. Joel Comp.
Goo-goo-goo-joob, my friend.
That's right.
The walrus was Paul.
That's true. That's true. Have you ever gone down the Paul is dead conspiracy theory?
Who hasn't?
It's so funny. Like, I really hadn't really gone down it too much, and then people are like, oh, all the people who are like the moon landing people who didn't land on the moon. It's like, oh, look, he looks totally different in 1965 than he does in 1966. His eyes don't match up, and his earlobe is different. And like, whoa, it's weird.
Right. At the end of Strawberry Fields Forever, if you listen closely, turn up the volume, you hear, I buried Paul.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, if
wait, do you not know that? That's
no.
Yeah.
No. If
listen,
that's crazy. That's crazy. If all I got to say is, man, if the Paul McCartney is fake, he did a hell of a job at Wings and everything else he's done since then. I mean, he's super believable. He kept writing great songs, so good on fake Paul, I guess.
Yeah, Ringo's the fake one. Hey, I take offense to that, lad.
I don't know about that. We should be talking about identity on this podcast, then maybe.
Let's talk about the Bad Crypto Podcast, show for the crypto curious, crypto serious, and crypto identitists, because today we're going to talk to Vinny Lingham of Civic. First of all, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Mr. Travis Wright, why don't you tell us about LinkedIn Jobs?
LinkedIn Jobs. So if you're looking to make a hire for your small business, you want to go to LinkedIn. It's probably the best place to go, find quality candidates. It's going to make sense to your role. You're going to be able to see their profile, look at them, and see if they measure up to what you're looking for. LinkedIn Jobs uses knowledge of both the hard skills and soft skills to match you with the people that fit your role the best. Your LinkedIn Jobs matches are based on skills and background, also interest, activities, and passions, and reviews and peer-rated stuff, right? So this helps you out quite a little bit. Matching lets you quickly get a group to the most relevant, qualified candidates for your role. People are going to submit their LinkedIn profile to you and their resume, and go check it out. Post a job today at linkedin.com/badcryptopodcast and get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/badcryptopodcast. Terms and conditions do apply. So make sure to check that out.
And also want to thank our sponsors at Divi. Hopefully you got to hear the episode with Nick Saponaro and Tim Sanders that we did just a few back. DiviProject.org. This is super cool because masternodes, baby. We finally covered masternodes, and Divi was the perfect example of how easy it can be for you to earn crypto with masternodes. The beauty is they've got a one-click cloud installer that makes it so simple to set up, instantly mining with the Divi coin. It's the Divi project. These guys are dedicated to reducing the friction tax of crypto, and they're doing it through their user experience and their UI. Again, go to diviproject.org, join their Telegram, t.me/Divi project. Links in the show notes to all of their presence, and that is Divi.
It is divvied up.
All right, we had a great interview. You guys are going to love this. Vinny Lingham is one super smart entrepreneur, and Civic is a cool project. So let's get to it. We're pleased to welcome back to the Republic of Bad Cryptopia the co-founder and CEO of Civic, among many other projects in the tech and crypto space, the one and only Vinny Lingham. Vinny, welcome back.
Thanks, Joel. Travis, good to be back.
Yeah, don't thank Travis. He was late getting here. Just thank me.
Thanks, Joel.
You're welcome. Travis, are you up?
I'm not up. No,
he's rubbing the sleep from his eyes.
that's true. I was up. I got up earlier, and then I was reading Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. I was going through that, and then he's pretty technical. And then next thing I know, I'm asleep.
That's a great testimonial. Andreas Antonopoulos' book will knock you out.
It is so good. It is so technical. You're like,
That's awesome. Vinny, you are the co-founder, CEO of Civic, and your project comes up a lot in discussions with others in the crypto space because your tool is designed to work within other tools. It's all about secure identity. So for those who don't know, maybe kind of give us an overview of what Civic is.
So Civic's a digital ID company. I think it's that's a broader word for description for what we're doing. We've been busy doing lots of things. We launched obviously the token sale in 2017. We've launched Identity.com last year. We're busy in the process of launching Identity.com, which is a marketplace which is powered by the tokens, and that just allows people to exchange and verify ID credentials. But the overarching vision for the company is we want to digitize driver's licenses, passports, birth certificates, everything. Put it all on your devices. No central database that stores your information. You store it and keep the information for yourself. Using blockchain for verification, effectively like a big, public key infrastructure system, which can validate that the data that you have is legit and you're the owner of it. And we're focusing on practical, use cases. This is a very early space, very nascent, so everyone's trying to figure it out. And our go-to-market so far, the stuff we've launched publicly has been, for example, the Budweiser beer vending machine at Consensus last year, where you could essentially just launch a machine that sells products which are age restricted, and the machine could verify your age without having to take your ID credentials and store it or anything like that. So that kind of it's a zero knowledge proof essentially. On your credentials.
So as opposed to an Apple Wallet type thing where Apple has.
As opposed to like walking into a bar, the barman sees all your information. He sees where you live. He sees your age, weight, height, whatever. The machine just checks that you're over 21 and dispenses a beer to you. So we've got some cool stuff in that category coming out. But these are practical use cases. We just announced a partnership deal with JCI, which is a Fortune 100 company where they power dozens, hundreds of buildings in New York and around the country. They own Tyco, for example. So when you walk into a building and you have to give the security person your ID, and then you write it down and check all the information, there'll be a booth that you go through, and you just use the Civic app on the booth, and you confirm that you are who you say you are, and they let you into the building. So we're basically building infrastructure that supports digital ID information exchange in a secure, private manner. We're very consumer-focused, very privacy-focused.
That's great. I'm curious now. So I want a beer, right? It's early in the day. Now I'm thirsty for a beer. What's the process? How long does it take? Like I see this vending machine, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I want a beer, but I'm not on Civic yet. How long does the process take to get verified to get on your system?
85% of people will be verified within 2 minutes.
That's pretty quick.
The 15% of people where the ID is like maybe damaged, it doesn't look right, the machine learning systems haven't picked it. Like there's 50 states in the US, for example. Every ID is different, and we use a lot of advanced technology which makes sure that you are the person whose face is on the ID, for example.
Maybe quicker to use a passport than to use an individual driver's license?
Yeah, you can use a passport as well, as long as it's a clear photo and lighting's good. But like I said, 85% of people get it done within 2 minutes. And then once it's there, you can keep going back to the machine all day long.
I like to, when we're interviewing somebody that's got an app and I haven't used it, I like to actually grab it while we're doing the interview to see how quickly I can onboard. So in the iOS App Store, it was easy to find the Civic ID app, and I've just set up my account. I'm assuming there's an Android version as well.
Yes, there is Android version.
So how's the process going, Mr. Joe Com? Is it working pretty smooth for you?
Process is going good. I'm putting in. I just verified my email, and now I'm verifying my my mobile number, and it's going to send me the code. So it's kind of like, oh, there it is. Double checking to make sure I am who I say I am, and I am because I say so. And then it's going to allow me to set up my my ID in here. So this is pretty slick and pretty cool. So how are things progressing over there? You guys had a really successful ICO. You've been doing some proof of concepts. What's on the horizon here to make this thing get great adoption?
Getting these use cases that's the key for us right now. Making sure that we have practical use cases that what's the point of digital ID if no one actually uses it, right? So in order to get there, we really have to basically make sure that there's enough use cases that people feel that there's something they can do with it and use their phone every day for it and use their ID for it every day. It's
right. So how do I actually use it? I'm looking at it now, and it says Civic ID with a check mark, and my email and my phone number are there. How do I apply this?
That you need to have the machine in front of you.
Okay. And so what do? You scan like a QR code or something?
Yeah, there'll be a QR code machine.
Very cool.
It is great. I'm curious about this, right? So, everyone has, or 2 billion people have a Facebook account. I don't know how many people have a Gmail. People have Twitter accounts and whatnot. Now, is this going to be something that you're going to be able to maybe verify people's identity for social media? Is there any platforms that you guys have worked on or working with around decentralized social media yet?
So we've been chatting to and working with a few of the smaller companies that are interested in creating high quality user account systems, but the big guys don't care. I mean, there's no legal requirement for them to make sure that every account is validated and has a real person behind it. In fact, they allow multiple accounts. So Facebook doesn't, in terms of conditions, but people do have multiple accounts on Facebook and a lot of fake accounts there as well. Twitter, obviously, anyone can open up an account. Instagram as well. So, and you can open up multiple accounts. You have 50, 100, there's no limit.
For sure.
So there's just no requirement for these big guys to cut down the number of accounts and trolls, etc., and create a higher quality network because Wall Street judges them on growth and monthly active users.
Well, that's okay because they're about to be disrupted anyway. So
yeah, so when that happens, that's fine. But like the big guys they've actually got no motivation for cleaning up the system because reducing any friction to creating accounts with slow growth, and slowing growth means lower valuations, and so. The financial motivations behind what they do is just not geared towards improving the state of identity on the web and on the internet. So that just is what it is, right? There's nothing you can really do about that. You can't get Google and Facebook and Instagram, whoever else, to start verifying every single account. It's unless it's a legal mandate, and some countries may move that route because of the what's been going on online. But there's just no motivation for them to do it right now.
I've started to be of the mindset that these big social media giants are actually far more fragile than many people think. That, if they push too far, the wrong people or groups of people, that a mass exodus can take place to a new solution. Do you think that that's likely to happen because of censorship and having a blockchain solution on hand that can bring free speech to where it needs to be?
Again, if they want it, right?
Well, I mean, if people are being censored, and
the counter argument is that by having your identity tied to a social media account, that is a form of censorship.
Explain.
Well, if people look, I have a different view on this, but I can tell you the counter view. My view is that you can have 100 different accounts linked to a single ID. If I blocked you on, let's say, on Twitter, I want to block all your accounts. I don't want you coming back on a different account. I don't care who you are, and you can have all those accounts, but every account should be linked to an ID. And I don't need to know who the ID is, but I can at least block one account, and every other sort of shadow account you open up wouldn't affect me. That's my. But the counter argument is that people have the right to free speech, so they can open up multiple accounts. It's kind of weird, right? Free speech, if you translate that into the real world, it would be I have the right to clone myself and have 5 versions of Vinny walking around. And if you manage to avoid the one, the other 4 can still get to you. So the world we live in is it's okay to have, multiple social media troll accounts, but it's obviously not okay to have multiple versions of yourself cloned in the real world running around. Not possible.
What if you're not I mean, most people don't behave like that, though. Most people have an account and they just want to be able to use that account. So let's put trolls aside for the moment and address the same issue.
The issue is the friction, right? So the social media companies don't want to add friction to sign up and usage. And adding identity to an account adds friction. So that slows growth. And it's basically turning the dial on and saying, hey, let's go higher quality and lower growth. And that's kind of not something that they're interested in doing at all.
One identity to rule them all.
Well, it does make sense to be able, if they're all tied to one account, one ID. But I'm actually starting to look at the post, big social media world, because I think some of them are going to start alienating enough people. And Joel and I have had lots of conversations on that. There's going to be some tipping point where people are going to go, you know what? Already right now, conservatives are, censored 21-1 over liberals on Twitter currently. Although Jack says, "Oh, we don't do anything like that. We're not picking on any group." And politically, I'm a little bit left of center, and so, but I don't think that anybody should be banned on that. So that upsets me, and so I see that eventually there's going to be this tipping point where people are going to get pissed off of these social media platforms. For one, they own all their data. The whole Cambridge Analytica thing with Facebook, and then how YouTube is demonetizing people's videos that they don't like the content of, and they're deplatforming people. And basically there gets a point where people become de-identified online. Like if they coordinate and kick you off online, then you no longer exist in today's, town hall. And so, what is it going to take for new platforms to come up and utilize Civic and save the day? Because if not, free speech is going to go away before too long.
Well, you have the notion of anonymous logins and identities, right? So you could actually tie a real identity to an account, but not know who it is and not have any linkage to the real person's identity. Mm-hmm. There's a simple way of doing that using Civic as well and the crypto behind it. So I'm saying you can have real people validate their accounts and not know who they are, but not allow those people to duplicate accounts or have multiple accounts or whatever it is. There are ways of doing it, and you can have a total amount of, in fact, you probably have more privacy than you can imagine, because no one else could steal that account or pretend to be you. And you if you have the keys, you can access that account, only you. And so it's different shades of what you're trying to achieve, but the technology can allow for it. I don't think society is critical enough around what influence social media plays in our lives and how they're able to, civil attack us, really. If you think about it in a social context.
Yeah, maybe not ready for it yet.
In a perfect world where Civic just becomes an adopted platform that is used all over the place, what problems do you think will have been solved? What's it look like, in this utopian future where everybody has, this digital secure ID?
I mean, our goal is to solve the problem of democracy, ultimately as a company. Like, can we actually get to a point where everyone has a digital ID so everyone can vote? Now, whether you're using Civic as a company or the identity.com platform or one of our partner networks, doesn't matter. We'll hopefully have interoperability. But the idea is that if everyone in the world had digital ID and everyone voted during elections, you'd have better outcomes for democracy and more representative democracies.
So this would help solve voter fraud.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it already can today. Blockchain's biggest, one of the biggest use cases of blockchain is solving voter fraud and voting. Like, that was the original business case for Civic before we started the company. We pivoted to do identity because it's just, it's a longer term thing. But I think it's a very, very much it's my pet project in the long term.
But don't you know that voter ID is racist?
There's a difference, but voter ID and voter eligibility to vote, if you think about it, is a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's actually one of the things that sort of brought Joel and I together originally to eventually do Bad Crypto. So I wrote an article on Huffington Post in December of 2016 talking about, the election and WikiLeaks and Podesta's, hacked phone that he left in a taxi with his password was password. And, like my son could have hacked that, and so I just kind of went through all these things. It's like, look, everybody's complaining and pointing fingers and bitching about the problem, but the solution is evident. The solution is blockchain, and the solution is, voter ID or some sort of civic identity. And that was before I even knew that you were working on that project. And so I'm glad to see that that's something that is being, worked on and being built. What is it going to take for governments around the world to start utilizing or implementing a service like Civic into their governmental ecosystems to ensure that voting is done ethically and above board?
Well, it's going to take an act. Like, in the real sense, someone's going to have to put an act up.
Well, and it's so funny. I mean, obviously, there are people that don't want voter ID for their own political reasons, right? If you just happen to be, with a group that that you've got people ineligible that are giving you votes, and you're going to come up with the reason to say, "Oh, no, voter ID is a bad thing. We don't want that. That's racist." I mean, you got to have an ID to get booze. You got to have an ID to get cigarettes.
If you say you can't have voter ID, then you're really saying that even tourists who are in the country can go vote.
Right. Exactly. And multiple times even.
Are we okay with busloads of tourists from Asia, Africa, and Europe walking around to voting booths on election day and casting a vote? They're in the country. They have a right to vote. That's the case.
I'm not
We're the only
with
country
it.
that allows this, which is crazy. But for some odd reason, if we claim that we should, optimize the system, then we're right-wing, ridiculous, horrible people. We've actually had this conversation online before on Bad Crypto, and people would message in like, "Oh my God, you're so wrong about voter identity. Like, it's so wrong of you to even think that." Like,
it's like a question. Like, I'm an American citizen. My brother isn't. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If he comes over to visit me, he's actually visiting me right now. So if we were having elections today and I went to the booth and I was like, okay, I'm going to go vote, why can't he come in and vote? Who's going to stop him?
Hi, Vinny's brother. Welcome to America. Glad that you're here. Enjoy your visit.
He can help, in fact, he single-handedly can help sway the election for us. Who knows? But
right.
it's kind of ridiculous, right? You can have someone who's not a citizen voting.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've done a lot of purging of these voting roll calls in different states, and they found like over 1 million in California, people that are dead, that aren't around anymore, that have moved, that are still on and still somehow voting. And there was a whole like couple 100,000 or something in Texas, and there's been in other states that they've shown that all these people who are voting that are ineligible to vote now, that's over the last 2 years, has been proven to be true. And so we want to solve that problem. It seems to me that for whatever reason, the media focused on these 8 to 12 Russian people swaying the election, but not these millions of, people who aren't eligible to vote, who are voting. That doesn't impact the election, apparently, but, 12 Russians do.
Yeah, when it comes to media, it's kind of a joke because media, if they actually hired statisticians, you'd have better outcomes in media report. But again,
right.
They have no incentive to do that. They have no incentive to report.
It doesn't drive their traffic in the right way. I want to ask you about this because you've done some really cool stuff over, and so you are in originally, I guess, from South Africa, or you've lived in South Africa, and you're a star of Shark Tank and Dragon's Den over there. You've worked on that stuff for a while. What are some of the cool things that you've seen come through those shows over there that maybe became really cool projects?
Well, I mean, the coolest project so far out of Shark Tank has been Augmentors. You can download it on the App Store, Augmentors. And Augmentors, really what that is they were on the show and they were trying to solve the problem of digital scarcity. And they weren't really blockchain guys at all. They were just like, well, how do we sell these cards? And it's like kind of like, think of it as like an AR version of Pokemon Go, if you will. Okay, and not Pokemon, but like ethical creatures and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So Augmentors, and I invested in the show. I think it was the first. Shark Tank runs in I think 13 countries around the world right now, or 15 countries. So there's a Shark Tank, just about everywhere in the modern world, and it's very popular. And I was the first shark, or all the sharks on Shark Tank, to actually do a deal in BTC, which is great. And so I invested in BTC, and I got the guys to basically turn it into a crypto, call it project. And they were one of the first companies to really do like NFTs. If you think about it, like so every creature is linked to a token, and you can buy creatures, etc., etc. So yeah, so it's a fun project. They're still in beta, but it's actually done really well. There's been a lot of development on it, and I'm excited to see where they go with it.
Yeah, your the website for this is augmentorsgame.com, and I'm downloading the iOS app right now. Looks cool. Definitely a lot cooler than Pokemon Go. So how is it working? Is there a token for it for people to buy and sell?
They launched the Databits token, an ICO like in January 2017, and earned $1 million sale. And they built the software, I would say, pretty much on the cheap. I mean, they're based out of Cape Town, and they kept their costs low. Obviously, benefit from the Bitcoin price increases, etc. But they've done a good job of managing that and building a pretty cool product. I mean, like when I invested in the show, there was really nothing there, and since then they've built something which is you can play the game today. It's really, really cool.
Before I met Vinny, I was just a loser, and now I'm a winner. That's kind of so really cool stuff, Vinny. Let's talk about the market broader. Back in October, we had you on stage with us at World CryptoCon. You and Ronnie Moas got into it a little bit, and over the future price of Bitcoin. He's still standing by, I believe, his prediction that Bitcoin will hit $28,000 by the end of the year.
I don't think it's going to hit 28,000 by the end of next year. You are a bozo.
You said that it's going to be a long, cold crypto winter.
Let's talk about the bet first.
What's that?
Let's talk about the bet.
Yeah, so the bet was that it would be 28,000 by December 31st, midnight of 2019. And he said yes, you said no. You're sticking by that prediction.
Well, I mean, I can buy myself out of the bet right now. Just buy one BTC and his 20,000. I give him 20,000. I'll make myself some profit on that as well. Ronnie's math's really bad because I don't think he thought through the bet when he made it on stage. But I could have bought the Bitcoin at that point in time and still been profitable on that bet. So that's why I took the bet. It was just like a no-brainer bet for me. I couldn't lose. I didn't buy the coin to cover the bet because I knew it's going to go down. At 6,000, it was very clear it was going to break below, and it does. And now we're in the zone where we're in a very tenuous zone for Bitcoin right now. If the Bitcoin price drops below 3,000, it's what I call like a nuclear winter where like all confidence is basically shaken in the sector. And it could take a long time to recover. The most likely outcome is what I said in November, was that Bitcoin trades between 3,000 and 5,000 for 3 to 6 months. And then depending on the direction, if it breaks up, then that's the bottom. If it breaks down, that becomes the top. And then we sit there for a while waiting for it to break up. I mean, listen, no one knows. Everything's statistics and percentage based. I think there's a lot of trolls out there who think that people who make predictions and guesses and whatever else are like absolutists. I'm not an absolutist. My view is very simple. Like there's a percentage chance that anything can happen. And what do you think the best odds of a particular outcome happening?
Is that an absolute position? Are you sure about that?
Want to make a bet?
Yeah.
Actually, today, as of recording the show, which we are on February 19th today, which is my sister's birthday, which I'm glad I noticed that. I'm going to have to go message her. It is, Bitcoin just went over $4,000 today, so it's gone up over 300 today. So it is at $4,010 as of right now. So maybe we're still in that $3,000 to $5,000 range, though. But it's nice to see us at least poke our heads above 4,000 for a change.
Yeah, it's again, how long it lasts, remains to be seen. But I agree.
I just want you to know, I want to get back to this, but I downloaded Augmentors, and I've got these two creatures on my rug that are fighting one another.
How cool is that game?
Yeah, well, I like I say, we're doing this interview, and I'm kind of, while Travis is asking his great questions, I'm tapping to see what it does, but I'm going to play with it some more after I'm done here. So, one of the elements that people are bringing into this discussion of where Bitcoin is going is that traditionally and statistically, 1 year before the next halving is when we start to see a rise in the price and enter into a bull market. Well, that 1 year mark is going to happen in May 2019. So we're just, a few months away here from that. Do you subscribe?
Except this time it's different, right?
Why?
This time is different, I think, because the number of coins that in issuance already far outweighs the number of coins that in previous halvings. So, like, in other words, the inflation is so low right now in Bitcoin, it doesn't make much of a difference, to be honest.
I've actually thought of that because it's like, here we are now, the reward is going to go down to 6.125 or something, right? And so we've already released over 17 million. There's only, 3.5 million or so left. And this halving right here is not going to put that big of a dent or add that many new coins overall to the pile. So what do you think then? What's it going to take for us to pass the previous high then? Because we're already 440 days or so into this crypto winter now from the last high. How long is it going to take to bump above that, do you think?
There's two parts to this. Okay? Let's talk about the halving from a psychological perspective. It has a huge impact. So there's a lot of people who are going to be buying it up, expecting it to go up, and it will go up on the basis of that. Will it be enough to topple? The previous halving didn't take us out of the highs, the previous highs, right? We only, it got us it basically doubled us from like 300 or so to 700 in a year. And, I've always been a fan of slow and steady growth, and everyone criticized me for that. But if we had a more slow and steady growth, I think we'd be at 10,000 plus right now. Maybe we get back up there, which is fine. But that's a separate issue. I think the impact of the halving there may be some impact. I'm not sure whether the mechanics of the market will trump the psychology of the halving or not. And the reality is it could. There's a chance it could. I am a little skeptical that the psychology will trump the mechanics. And so let's go to the mechanics. And if you look across the market, there's different coins. It's really hard. So we can talk about Bitcoin and we can talk about other coins. Like, where do you guys want to go?
We want to hear what you think. Just let it.
No, I mean, so my thoughts on the Bitcoin market is around the previous time of the halving, there was a lot of adoption that was happening. Businesses were using it, accepting it as payment. The Bitcoin was a payment mechanism at the last halving, and everyone was trying to use it to get more businesses online. We're talking Overstock was accepting it, Gift was accepting it. There were, every day there were new businesses, new users, and we've lost that because the narrative has shifted from it being a payment mechanism to a store of value and a settlement network for a settlement layer for Lightning. Lightning's not ready yet. Lightning was promised to us, back in 2015, really, in 2016, 17, 18, every year. Like Lightning, literally for the past 3 years, 4 years, you could have said 18 months at any point in time, and it will be ready in 18 months, and it still wouldn't be ready in 18 months. And we're still hearing, well, the volumes are up. 18 months from now, we should have something. Again, when it's there, and you can get adoption, that'd be great. But it's not there yet. It just isn't there.
So go ahead and broaden that then to, to the altcoin market. And what do you think is going to happen there? There's so many coins. Obviously, ICOs have slowed dramatically, but there's still, hundreds of coins out there, thousands.
Again, unless these coins have independent value, kind of like Binance has independent, BNB has independent value. My company, Multicoin, just launched a report about that, about Binance, BNB. And, you get it's independent of Bitcoin, right? So a lot of trading happening on Binance and the infrastructure is building out around their coin. Then there's value that accrues to it. And it can probably weather the Bitcoin. I talk about the decoupling a lot, where coins start taking on the values independently of Bitcoin. Because quite frankly, Bitcoin tanks 20, 30%, everything else goes down with it, right? So we all know this. It's because the coins are all linked together, because there's no real utility right now across the entire crypto ecosystem. I mean, there aren't any coins that independently have value other than being speculative coins on certain areas where we think the technology is going to evolve too. So Bitcoin remains the leader, by far, and it will probably continue into the future for now anyway, until there's a decoupling where effectively the price of Bitcoin goes too low, or the utility of other coins exceed the reason for why you want to buy Bitcoin. So in other words, there's a coin that's just, it's got a lot of value, it's got a yield, it's got some return profile that looks really good, and it beats Bitcoin. Not in the long term, we're not talking about, I'm talking in terms of percentages, not in terms of, market cap. And people start piling into that coin independently of what happens to the Bitcoin price. So this is a very complex market and ecosystem. I think people, I'll be the first to admit that I can't possibly grasp all the different nuances of it, and I don't think any one person can. So, I enjoy being part of Multicoin because I sit with Carl and Tashar and we have weekly calls and we discuss trends and updates and stuff. We all have different views on things, and we just learn from each other, and that's great. And I don't think any one person can. If you're not part of a team or group of people who discuss these things, you're fooling yourself to think you can understand the market. It's just too multidimensional.
So what do you think of Bitcoin Cash, Doge, Silver, Platinum, XP, Jetcoin?
Everyone's chasing after utility and use cases. That's the bottom line. Like the whole market is built around people's or communities' ability to chase after use cases. And the use case for Bitcoin has now become a store of value and a settlement network. And until there's actual utility and volumes there, it's hard to see how the use case converts into actual adoption and people buying the coin. I mean, you think about it, people were buying the coin on the basis that the price is going up. So that was one of the reasons why you buy Bitcoin. But when the price is dropping, that store of value thesis gets thrown out the window, right?
Maybe there's a place for Ponzi coin. I'm just scrolling through CoinMarketCap, and in position 1,156 on CoinMarketCap, there's actually something called Ponzi coin that is worth 2.8 cents apparently. I mean, how crazy is this that there are all of these tokens that have no utility and are virtually worthless, and yet people are trading them?
This is why I don't think the market's bottomed out yet. I mean, for the market to bottom out in the cycle, Bitcoin dominance should go up to like 80% realistically.
Mm.
And that's kind of weird. Everyone thinks Vinny's a Bitcoin bear. Why would Bitcoin dominance go up? I'm not a Bitcoin bear in the sense that I'm bearish about Bitcoin and the technology. I'm bearish on like the approach that we have towards markets and whether look, Bitcoin will find a clearing price that everyone will agree to at some point. What that price is, I don't know. I just don't think it's the current price point that we're at.
Yeah, I concur. It's one of those things where, if you actually look at the uptrend of Bitcoin over time, it's, we're probably not too far off. I think maybe we should be at least over $5,000 if it had been a steady growth pattern. Maybe we would have hit 10 grand by now, but that huge spike up, to 20 grand, and then all of those altcoins, and then the creation of Bcash, and then all those funds that were flush in the early 2018, late 2017. Are we going to see something like that again, do you think? Or was that just this sort of, combination of all of these sort of forces that work at once, right? There was the ICO markets and all these money pouring into, Ethereum, pouring into all these different startups and then all this stuff that was going on. It just seemed like there was all these things going on, and then the ICO dies off, and then the Bcash tanks, and then a lot of the money just floods out of the market. Is that you see a time where like we're going to see this and more later on, or was that a shot in the pan?
Well, I think there's a couple of things here. One is I don't think we're factoring in black swan events, which can happen and do happen from time to time. So we assume that we know all the outcomes, but leave it at that. So there may be a black swan event in crypto in the next while.
Could you explain that? What do you mean?
Well, unforeseen events.
Okay.
Like the reason that black swans and the unforeseen is because we can't foresee it. So
right.
So if I could foresee it, I could tell you what it was. It wouldn't
maybe not be a black swan. It would be like a great swan.
So there'll be a black swan event of some sort in crypto. The other thing that's worth noting is if you were around for the .com era, there was never another .com bubble.
That's right. It happened one time.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone waited for a second one, but it never came. All that happened was businesses started focusing on utility and driving value for customers and adoption and growth and the basic fundamentals of building, enterprises in this universe we live in. And we, slowly but surely got ourselves out of the mess that was created in the .com era, but it took us a long time. So that may be what happens in crypto. Or we could go into another speculative mania bubble, and it just becomes so big that when it actually crashes, damages the world in a very negative way, and then it brings in regulators in a much bigger way than it has before. And these are potential outcomes. I mean, you can imagine a world where if crypto got so big and it became a $5 trillion market cap with no yield, no revenues, purely speculation, it would be damaging. I mean, this bubble was nearly very damaging to a lot of it's damaging a lot of people. It didn't really affect too many countries. If it was 10 times the size, it would affect countries. And at that point, the governments will just be,
It hurt my feelings when it crashed in my Blockfolio.
It did. Yeah. I want to ask a question. So you were the co-founder and the CEO of Gift, GYFT, which I'm very familiar with. That's a mobile gift card company that you founded, and you actually had sold that. What do you think about, gift cards in the crypto world? Because, I mean, I know you spent a lot of time thinking about, gift cards in your previous company, and crypto is kind of an interesting thing. Is there any, thing that you've seen around gift cards and crypto yet that's interesting or exciting?
No, I think I haven't looked in the space too much right now. The market is in crypto is pretty, as you guys know, pretty subdued. So I think we'll probably find some good use cases emerge. But again, one of the things that everyone's trying to solve right now is scaling, and it hasn't been solved yet. But over and above scaling is use cases, and we've got to find better use cases with crypto. And all I'm saying is, guys, I'm a big fan of making lots of money on crypto. I think that's a great idea. But can we do it with something that's sustainable instead of a speculative mania bubble?
Vinny comes on, and we have to rename it to the Sad Crypto Podcast.
I don't know. It's like, here we go.
Like, it was easy money. It was just, all you have to do is just buy and hodl. I mean, it doesn't seem like weird. It doesn't seem like very punchy.
Well, you're missing a step. You also need to SODL. Because if you just hodled, then it went all the way back down.
We all need to pull a Charlie Lee next time around, the smartest guy in crypto, perhaps. Well, Vinny, we appreciate you coming back to talk to us, and we'll have you back again. Anything you'd like to leave our listeners with here as we sign off?
No, I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show, as always.
No, we thought maybe you were going to throw some Civic up in the air and see where it landed, but that's okay. We appreciate that.
It's not.
I told everybody you were doing an airdrop.
I tried not doing the Oprah thing. Okay, fine. Look under your seat.
Yeah, and you get a digital ID, Yeah, that's.
Look under your seats. Right. No, I'm kidding.
Right
That's
there.
just my.
Oh my God! Here it is. I see it. Wait, no, that's my
That's
phone.
just my butt under my seat there. All right, Vinny. Thanks, brother. Stay bad.
Always take care, man. Cheers, bye.
Travis, just after doing this interview, you and I went to South by Southwest, and there was a Civic booth, and they had a beer dispenser that had a couple local canned beers in it. And the way you would get a beer out of it is to have the Civic app scan a barcode. And the reason that they did that to dispense beer is, well, you got to prove that you're of age. And so your digital identity through the Civic app did that, and boom, out comes an ice cold, delicious beer.
Very cool. I was really impressed with that, and you were as well. You got yourself a nice, delicious cold beer, and you didn't drink it.
That I don't drink because I don't drink beer. Now
maybe they had a wine.
Yeah, I know. But if it's a nice Malbec, then I would have been all over it. But if you guys want to see this machine, Travis and I actually created a video. It's about a 6-minute video. It's a lot of fun of our exploits at South by Southwest 2019. And if you'll go to the show notes, you'll at badco.in/251, you'll see a link to the video. And if you jump to the 45-second mark, if you're like, you're super impatient and you just want to see the Civic beer dispenser, go to the 45-second mark, and you will see me using the Civic app to get a free beer.
Yes. And make sure to comment on that, because Mr. Joel Comm edited that video like a pro. Man, that video was fun. Like, we had a great time walking through South by Southwest and seeing all the stuff and looking at all the vendors and grabbing swag. And we were like swag pirates, man. We got so much booty. It was amazing.
You got booty at the South by? I didn't see
South
that.
by swag. We got t-shirts and stuff.
Why do you say swag? You put a CH in there. It's just swag. SWAG.
No, I call it swag because that's what I want to call it.
Do you know what swag stands for?
I do not.
It is an acronym. Well, maybe it was meant to be, maybe it wasn't, but my understanding is that SWAG stands for stuff we all get.
Ah, very nice. Well, then it's not swag. It would be swag.
Yeah.
I should change and it's nuclear.
Yeah. We got a few reviews that just popped up this week. Brad the Futurist writes with 5 stars, crypto for your ear holes. This is the only crypto podcast you need in your ear holes. Let the glorious crypto flow through the canals into your brains and change your life. Travis and Joel's are the absolute best duo you could ask for to deliver incredible content with a massive dose of hysterical every week. That is so on the money with this world-changing technology. Thanks, you guys, for all you do, and stay bad.
Oh, man. Thank you, Brad the Futurist. That was a way better review than Brad the Pastist wrote.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you, buddy. This show is bad, says Leo Wolf 88. I am Satoshi Nakamoto, and I approve of this podcast. It's really nice.
But if he was Satoshi Nakamoto, shouldn't his name be Satoshi Nakamoto and not Leo Wolf 88?
I don't know. I sense shenanigans, or, maybe he's just trying to conceal his identity.
Blaine Boy 7 writes, Crypto Clowns. I'm typically afraid of clowns. Mr. Travis Wright and Mr. Joel Com have helped me with my fear in a unique way and saved me thousands of dollars in therapist bills that I have now invested in Badcoin, hoping for big things from that investment. Thomas, we've told you, his name is Thomas and he's in Nashville. We tell you don't buy Bitcoins. And if you invest in Badcoin, that's what you've just done.
Well, we have converted Badcoin into a blockchain, and we're going to talk about that in the next episode with Marshall Long. So if you have not heard what we have done with Badcoin, go to badcoin.net and read all about it. We're going to swap out those original Badcoins that we gave you guys for engaging with the show and converting them to a real coin that you're going to be able to mine on bad computers. So you're going to want to hear all about that next episode with Marshall Long. That's really big news, and I'm pretty excited about it, Mr. Joel Com. The more I've been thinking about it, is like the way we've set up Badcoin to be decentralized mining, so any computer can use it. I really think that code that we've created, that Marshall and his team have created, that we've helped consult and build out, I think that could actually be used as governments could use that blockchain for the living wage for any country that they wanted to set up, because it could basically, here's the computer, here's the code, mine it, here's what this is worth, or the computer, or the government could mine it and give it out to their people and make it worth something and call it whatever they want. But the code there could actually be something that could impact the world in a very positive way, and I'm pretty excited about it.
It's going to be the next episode. You guys do not want to miss it. Just tattoo it on your hand so that you remember to listen to Bad Crypto number 252 with Marshall Long. And of course, love to get reviews from you as well. So please go to Facebook or iTunes or wherever you're able to write a review. 5 stars if that's what you think. 6 stars if you want. 4 stars or less, don't waste your time. But 5 stars, waste your time for sure. And let's see what else I got. Oh, if you're not bad yet, then get bad. And if you're already bad, well, then stay bad.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.
What does your morning sound like?
That's Daddy's little man.
Morning, Daddy. Grabbed your usual from Mickey D's.
Here's to making your morning routine a little better with a delicious breakfast from McDonald's.
Start your day at McDonald's with a refreshingly bold, large McCafe iced coffee for just $2. Price and participation may vary. For a limited time, cannot be combined with any other offer, any combo meal.